For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's 13th practice of spring camp. Now, it was a more low-key day because the Trojans were out in only helmets and jerseys, so not a lot of full contact, no full contact really. But I want to lead with the news of the day because of that. We got to talk to offensive coordinator Graham Harrell, and he basically told us that there's not going to be a starter named as far as the quarterback goes by the end of spring camp. Harrell said he's going to need more time because he just got here. He's going to need more than 15 practices to determine who a starter is going to be. Harrell even kind of suggested that it's going to take most of fall camp to really determine who that starter is going to be.
I think it will take maybe some of fall camp before they tell you, before he tells us. But he did say it'll be obvious by then. Yep. It'll be clear. I think this is how you want them to go through the summer, and you want them to work on the things you want them to work on. You want them to be the kind of leader that they need to be. You want them to demonstrate, as he talked about, their core values. And, your job is to make the players around you better. And so, I think it's a very good way to go. And he kind of, outlined for each of them what they may have to work on and what they do well.
Yeah, so let's get into that. It was pretty interesting. He went through each quarterback and had a detailed list of what they're good at and what they need to improve on. Do you want to get into it, Dan?
Yeah, he started off with Jack Sears, and as we all know, he's the most athletic. He can, break the pocket. He can turn it upfield, and as we were talking, that's a double-edged sword because you don't want that guy to get hit a lot, and you don't want him to, tuck the ball away and run with it when you got somebody open downfield, and their hope is they get somebody open on every play. So it was interesting, the way he started with Jack. With Mac Fink, he talked about maybe the best kind of emotional leader, but also that the emotions can kind of work against him, yeah. That they've got to, at times calm him down, that he's, really had a good spring, developed, come a long way in terms of being able to do what they need him to do. As far as Keaton Slovis is concerned, he's an athlete, a freshman with a good arm, guy who throws the ball the way they want him to throw it. A guy who's almost been helped because of the fact that this is his classmates are still in high school. He's never been coached in college. This is his first thing. First offense he's been introduced to. And so he doesn't have any unlearning to do. Yeah. He just goes out and plays, which is, certainly helped him. And then with JT Daniels, I thought he talked about all the things that JT does well. But he also talked about one of the things that JT brought with him that everybody that worked with him talked about, how smart he was, how, sort of a photographic type memory where he knew everybody and what they were doing and where they all are. And I thought it was interesting the way Graham said, we don't need him to know where all 11 players are on every play. We need him to find the open guy right away. We don't need him to maybe slow down his process as he goes through all of the things that are happening in his head, when all he needs to do is deliver the ball immediately to the guy that's open. So it was an interesting way of looking at it, and it certainly looked like he understands where each of these guys are.
Yeah, and Graham Harrell said that he's told the quarterbacks, he sat down with them and told them everything he told us, he's already told them essentially a week ago, so they know where they're at this point of spring. Was it surprising for you, though, to kind of hear what the timeline is going forward as far as naming a quarterback?
I think the quarterbacks will name, whoever it is, they will name him themselves. So, I'm not all that big into, drum roll, please, and and open the envelope and all, the name is. No, I think, it'll be. I thought it was interesting that he said by that time it's going to be obvious who the quarterback is. So he's kind of. I think Graham is kind of looking at it the way I would. You just keep playing. And then pretty soon, the guy who it's supposed to be will be the guy it's supposed to be. He said at that point, that guy's going to get a lot more reps. Now they've been really scrupulous, dividing those things up, different guys starting in different combinations. But I just think it really sets the summer up well for these guys. And I think that's a good way to go. I know JT said, none of us are even thinking about that. We're just trying to get better every day. And the quarterbacks, and you don't get the sense that they're really focused on that, because I think they've really done a good job of, mixing and matching and who you're playing with and what you get to do each time. And like today, maybe when they went into special end of half situations with the clock running down, they started with JT, and he might, and I think of all the times that they've done the, like 2-minute drill or 1-minute drill, JT might have been going first, maybe a little more than some of the others, but he's got the experience. He's been the guy. But otherwise, they really, everybody's thrown to everybody. Everybody's gone first. Everybody's gone last. Like an 11-on-11 today, JT went, fourth.
Yeah.
So I think it's been handled really, really well. I mean, you hear Graham when he talks like today, and everything you hear him say, you go, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
That really sounds, you get it. You're doing it right. This is the right thing for these guys. And I know he said, it's his first chance to coach them up. But I think he's doing, we've been, around him for 2 and 3 years. I think he's doing it exactly right for these guys.
Yeah, I would agree. Letting it play out and letting the best guy kind of name himself on his own, I think, is the right call there. But we got thrown a little curveball today. We got to talk to 2 early enrollee freshmen today, which was an interesting change of pace, especially now that we're in the last week of spring camp. We got to talk to early enrollee quarterback Keaton Slovis, and we also got to talk to gray shirt early enrollee John Jackson III. What did you take away from talking to both of those guys today?
I think one of the first things is when you stand next to Keaton, he is 6'3". You don't know that when you're watching him out there all the time, and he is he's 6'3", got a good arm. I think he's very comfortable, and I know he says he looks around and says, all my friends are still in, high school, and here I am, at USC, and I'm out there with all the big boys, but he seems pretty grounded. I think his high school coach, Kurt Warner, that would be a pretty good guy to send you off to play quarterback somewhere. Just said, be yourself, just do what, and he just looks like he's being himself and just going out there and looks pretty darn comfortable. And so he's just a very kind of low key and easygoing, and doesn't look like he's letting anything bother him. And can't ask for any more than that. As far as John Jackson concerned, how he's handled himself, his family situation with his dad, still in the hospital and still really working to, come back from that stroke. And, that his dad is still coaching him. The fact that, he gray shirted, so he's not taking a full load the first semester. And he really worked, and we talked about, JT said, the first day I saw him out here, I didn't realize he could run like that. Man, he's fast. And John said, he's really worked on that. So one thing he did when he was just concentrating in the fall on getting ready to be out here was that he did a lot of track work. And he said, I've definitely improved my speed. He's those of us who saw him play in high school, he's significantly faster now. He said, I've got to get faster than that. But I think he's making his dad very proud, and he's handling it, really well. And it can't be easy. Here you are out here. This is a dream come true. You're, going to the school where your dad played, and your dad can't be here. After all that time where your dad was always there, and he can't be here right now. So it just seems like he's awfully upbeat and awfully, handling this in a really mature way. For a young guy that kind of had to deal with, with his dad, been in the hospital for months.
Yeah, I completely agree. And he has just such a nice presence about him. He had a media presence already, which makes sense given what his dad did. But it was just really nice to hear him say that his dad is still involved in this process. They watch film together still. He's still coaching him in the way that he can. And so that was a really heartwarming moment to get that update from John Jackson III himself. Yeah,
and we haven't gotten a lot of updates, on John, and to hear that, from his son was really good news. And I think there is more good news now. I think it was really, a tough first few months there and for everybody involved. And it was very difficult for John. But But now you get a sense from what you're hearing that he's moving in the right, moving in the right direction, and it certainly his son is.
Yeah. You got to talk to JT Daniels today, and now we heard the pros and cons that Graham Harrell laid out about JT. You asked JT about his pros and cons. How did that match up with what Graham Harrell had to say?
I think he said a couple of things. He said he was kind of testing himself for his leadership and pushing that and seeing where that takes him. And I think he's done a really good job from what we've heard in terms of getting the players together and looking at film and doing the things the quarterback has to do. And he said the one thing he was really interested in was how does a team that played fairly slow and deliberate pick up on playing really, really fast. And that's where I think he and Graham kind of meet in terms of Graham wanting JT to play fast as he can play and not overthink things and not overanalyze things, which was kind of the way everything was approached last year, where there was a lot of analytical on, well, maybe this play doesn't work. Do we need a new play, or do we need to, add something to the offense or for next week or whatever? And the whole, theme here is you do what we're doing, and you just do it fast, and you do it perfect, and you do it better than they can stop you. And it's a different, approach, a different philosophy, and it's something that it's clear Graham wants JT to work on. Just do it, just go out there, make plays. Don't spend all your time thinking about them. That's not who we are. Our job is to keep repping it in practice, and when you're ready to play, you just play.
Mm-hmm. As I said earlier, it was a no pads day, so the injury situation, you can't get a full sense of it just because the guys can go out there and play. Austin Jackson, lots of Jacksons. Austin Jackson and Jalen McKenzie returned to their tackle positions today. We also saw Clayton Bradley do some work after Helton told us on Saturday that he would be out for the rest of spring, so interesting that in that sense. But since USC has their no pad practice out of the way at the beginning of the week, that means they have one shoulder pad practice and a full pads practice left for the next final 2 practices. What are you expecting from the Trojans?
Well, all I know is like today, things look really different when you've got Austin Jackson and Jalen McKenzie in pads and Clayton Bradley with his helmet on. It has a different look. I mean, it has a different feel about this team. So I thought at first they didn't know how to practice the way they were trying to practice today. That was kind of how they practiced last year. And I think they'd forgotten how to do speeded up walkthroughs and things like that. I was like, how do we do this? And what speed do we go at? And then they started, I think, getting competitive, and they kind of forgot about that. But it was clear they really didn't know exactly how to go about kind of a no pads. Let's walk through and make sure we get everything right. And there was a lot of detailed stuff and a lot of kind of basic, fundamental, we're going to do it this way or this way or this way. I don't think they exactly caught on right away, and then they just started picking up the speed. But I think it was a good thing. I felt, good that they didn't look comfortable kind of going at the slower pace. They looked like they wanted to speed it up, which they did.
Yeah, I thought in the latter half of practice, they got pretty competitive. I saw the sweat dripping down from the linemen, which normally in the USC no pad practice, it's pretty easy breezy, but it didn't seem like that today.
That's a really good observation. Those are the guys that you can really tell. You look at the big guys when they come off, and if they're just all, drenched, they've been working their tails off the whole, or at least by the end of the practice, they're really, putting in, the sweat inducing, part of practice is a big deal. So we saw that again. So even a practice that looked a little bit like, oh, is this like a little last year a little bit, didn't end up that way at all. So I think they're past that. I think they're not going back there. And I don't think, they're going to let them. And I don't think the kids want to go back there. I think they like where they are, going hard. And there is the competitiveness. You hear those guys yelling back and forth, especially the defense really does get on the offense. And it's good. I mean, I think they're past last year.
Do you think I'm even though I'm positive about where they've gone as far as practices, I can't get myself to say that they're past that just yet. You know, I think in 2018 mock game week looked great, and then it kept getting slower and slower practices from there on. Can you really give that evaluation of where this team can be or can go from here?
I think just because of the way they're coaching them, I don't know that you can coach it other than full speed.
Okay.
I don't think you can coach Graham Harrell's offense. As he said, the thing he wants JT to do is speed it up. I don't know that you can do it at any other speed. And I think the defense is so competitive right now that they won't let themselves go back, and they don't have much choice because the offense isn't going to, play at any kind of a slower pace. So I think they've already set, the template that this is how we're going to do it, and it'd be hard to see, again. Things used to change when they get into game week, and you'd say, what are they doing now? I don't think what they do doesn't lend itself to kind of slowing down in game week. I think what they do lends itself to speeding up in game week because they're going to do, I guess JT said one time, they kind of know what we're doing now because this is the fifth week and we're doing the same, offense Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And he said, but that's the point of the air raid. They know what you're doing. You just have to do it better and faster, then they can stop it. So he's picking up on that. You're not trying to fool them necessarily. You're just trying to outplay them. Yeah. And so, that's what they're seeing. And so the only way to do that and do it well in practice even is to play faster and to play more perfectly. And so I think, they almost want the defense to know kind of what we're doing or guess what we're doing because that makes us play better doing that.
Mm-hmm. That's a fair rebuttal. I'll take that. Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, it's interesting. I don't think we know how these next two practices are going to go. I think they may have used up their 3 scrimmage kind of things, we think. We're not sure how they classified the one Saturday, but they don't have to necessarily have another scrimmage. But I'm kind of interested in how they end up here. I think it'll be important for them to pick things up Thursday in terms of physicality, from the get-go, and then Saturday. I just don't know. I think one of the things they'll try to do is send them off to the summer with a. This is how we want you to go in the summer. Yeah. But I don't know how they'll do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Alrighty, that's going to wrap it up for day number 13 of USC Spring Camp. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.